Hello, here's a special interview about something that is of great benefit, not only to Somalilanders, but the world in general, especially Africa. 7 Somalilanders are heading to the UK in the coming weeks to start studies at some of the top UK universities under the prestigious Chevening scholarship awarded by the UK government. They are among a growing number of Somaliland youth who had the UK each year for higher studies under this program. As the application is open for this year's intake, we have with us Stuart Brown, the head of the British office in Somaliland, to chat with us about this program that's providing invaluable opportunities to the youth of Somaliland. Welcome to the program as I welcome my guest on board. How are you doing?
Thanks very much. Good afternoon. Welcome.
It really is a great pleasure, to have you on set with us this moment. Now, let's go straight to the business of the day. 7 scholars from Somaliland are heading to the UK for studies, and the application for next year's intake is open, all under Chevening scholarship. Tell us about the Chevening scholarships program and what is it all about?
Thanks very much. So Chevening enables outstanding scholars and future leaders from all around the world to attend a 1-year master's degree in the UK, funded by the UK government. The program's been running now since around 1983, so a long history. And in 2018, we hit a significant milestone of having 50,000 scholars and alumni totally globally. So there's a significant cohort of leaders around the world who have been through this program. Amongst its ranks include former and current presidents, prime ministers, senior cabinet ministers in countries all around the world. So the name of Chevening itself is a question we get often asked. It relates to the residence of the Foreign Secretary in the UK. And from that comes the Chevening brand that I'm wearing here, the prestigious scholarship award.
Now, to be specific, it started in 1983, okay? Somaliland, to be precise. When did it start?
So the Chevening program has always been available globally, but really we picked up our scholars here in Somaliland from about 2009 onwards. The first 3 scholars went in 2019 under a fellowship program, and since then we've been sending scholars every year. Numbers in the early days were 1 or 2 top scholars a year, but absolutely delighted that last year we were able to send 7 scholars, the largest number we've ever sent, and we hope to be sending similar numbers every year from now on.
That's very, very remarkable. I'm so interested, and I'm sure our viewers are also interested. So how does it work?
So the scholarship program is available to all of those who meet the criteria. So what are we looking for in a Chevening scholar? Well, there's no such typical thing as a typical Chevening scholar. They could come from all areas of life, from politics, from industry, business, from the NGO sector, and there is no sort of requirement there. But in terms of the process itself, it's an online application process. That's www.chevening.org, and through this, they can all potential scholars can then follow the application process. I guess you probably want to know about what are we looking for, though. What sort of people can apply for the scholarship? Exactly. So your gender, age, background doesn't matter.
I was just about to ask, honestly. I was just thinking maybe it's meant for the youth alone and probably, male gender.
No, I mean that is certainly a stigma that we've had to combat here in Somaliland. Okay. But this year, for the first time, we are sending more women than men, and I hope that trend continues. Wow. So, as I said, there is no restrictions in terms of your personal background. What we're looking for is what you bring. We are looking for the leaders of tomorrow. And if you see yourself as a potential leader, Chevening could be for you. And what we're then looking for is someone who is going to make the most of the opportunity of a 1-year master's degree in the UK. someone who is going to seize that opportunity for study, but also personal enrichment, to then come back and return to Somaliland to make a difference. So part of the arrangement is essentially a contract, an agreement that once you've undertaken your studies, you will return for a minimum period and give back to the society.
That's very, very great, because it is not enough to attain such a very lofty height and then you come back to your environment, you come back to your societies, and you're not making any impact. It doesn't make any sense. Now let's talk about what you get at the end of the day. If you go to that the universities, what specific award do you get at the end of the day?
So the Chevening Scholarship is a 1-year fully funded master's program. In addition to the cost of your degree itself, it will also cover living expenses for your time in the UK, travel expenses to getting to the UK, etc. So it's a comprehensive package that will allow the fortunate individuals to have their sort of worry-free studies in the UK for a period of a year.
Okay, let's go to one very important area now, and I'm sure viewers want to hear that. What areas of study? You briefly, say it personally, about the categories of areas of studies, that are acceptable with the application. Can you please give us a detail and in-depth?
Of course. So no real areas of study are off limit. But perhaps to let people think about it, here are some of the areas that we've got studying just this year. So this year we've got scholars who are going to study public health, studying architecture, wanting to get into urban planning, studying financial management, studying international development, studying conflict resolution, all types of degrees and areas of study which will really help and benefit Somaliland's future development. In previous years, we've had people in other areas, journalism, for example, and indeed we have one journalism scholar this year. Human rights, other areas, but no areas are off limit. But as I said, what we're looking for is someone who's got that idea. What will you use your study for, and how will you take your study to come back to Somaliland and support Somaliland's future development?
We've heard a lot about some award scholarships, either from Somali region or outside Somali. What can you say that makes Chevening scholarship to stand out?
One is the longevity of the brand. So Chevening here, it is a very prestigious brand associated with the British government, which has been running now for close to 40 years. So as a Chevening scholar, you are joining a global network of alumni of over 50,000 individuals. And that itself creates opportunities for networking and contacts, which are perhaps unrivaled elsewhere. The other thing about Chevening scholarships, also I would be remiss not to mention it, is the access to the UK education system. The UK is very proud to have one of the most highly established education systems in the world, which we know that students from Somaliland, but also from the whole region, very much welcome the opportunity to engage in. And recognizing that your program goes out to the region also, I should say that Somaliland is not the only place that is entitled to these scholarships. Anyone in the region who's watching this, who wants to apply, should look at it and look at the respective offerings for wherever it is you're applying from.
It really is a great opportunity to Africans generally. Okay, let's go to yet another question. As it is written, give us a quick timeline of the year-long process to pick the next cohort of scholars.
I know the people listening to this really like to know about the nuts and bolts of how it works. So now is the really key time for those of you who are thinking about whether to apply or not. It's the time when the application process is open, when you think of, is Chevening for me? When I look at sort of what we're talking about future leaders, is that something I see in myself? That process is open from now through to the 3rd of November. So we're in the application phase now. Then after the applications are made, there is a sifting process, and long listing of candidates is done by the Secretariat of Chevening in London. That process takes place in January. Then the shortlisting process takes place in January and February, where we, within the British office, will be reviewing potential candidates and making our choice of who we're going to be interviewing for potential scholarships next year. And then comes the interviews. If we take this year as an example, we interviewed between 30 and 40 scholars for the 7 scholarships that went out, to make sure that we're really sort of seeing all of the potential that's out there and giving a wide range of individuals the opportunity to impress and show whether they've got what it takes to become a Chevening scholar. Those interviews will take place between the start of March and the end of April. And then the decisions are announced in May or June. And then the cycle becomes complete, and you get to the phase where we're at right now, which is where we get to send the scholars off to the UK. One of my favorite times of year is where we get to bring those scholars together to hear about their hopes and opportunities for the year ahead and to wish them the best for their travels. We held that session just 2 weeks ago. Owing to the exceptional situation we are in with COVID, it was a virtual session for us this year. But as a result, we were also able to bring in some of the current scholars who are based in the UK to share their experiences too, and it was quite a fruitful experience for everybody.
Very organic, you say. All right, in case you're just joining, we've been having a very special opportunity to interact with Somaliland diplomat, UK diplomat, Stuart Brown, the head of the British office in Somaliland. We'll be right back after this time out.
Hello out there. Tune in to CBAtv, the voice of East Africa and beyond. There's so many people around the world who are watching along with you.
Welcome back. We're glad to have you join us again. This is a special interview with the head of the British office in Hargeisa. And with us, we have the diplomat, Stuart Brown. It's a pleasure having you once again. It's been a very, very organic conversation so far. Let's get to the basics. Now, lots of questions, I get a lot of people, sending me messages. Just ask that question. What is the basic requirement for you to, just to clinch that scholarship?
Thanks a lot. So, to apply for the scholarship and be eligible, there are 3 basic requirements that you need to meet. One is that you need to have your first undergraduate degree. Second is that you have to have at least 2 years work experience. And the third is that you need to be able to meet the basic level of English language requirement for the course that you're applying for.
Basic, okay. All right, to a very sensitive matter now, how many scholars have entered the program so far? How many scholars can you say here in Somaliland?
So in terms of scholars from Somaliland, we've had over 20 scholars in the past decade. As I said, we started small with 1 or 2 scholars a year. We're now doing more and more, and last year we sent the largest number ever of 7 scholars. Okay,
now let's get to a very sensitive, more sensitive aspect of this discussion now, which has to do with gender. Now, I'm sure Chevening is very sensitive to gender issues. Now, this year, there was one interesting development in terms of the gender make of scholars. Can you tell us about that?
No, I'm really proud and happy to be telling you about this, which is this year, for the first time, we are sending more girls than boys, more women than men to the UK for this Chevening scholarship. Okay. So there were, in the final 7, there's 4 women and 3 men. That's the first time that the girls have outdone the boys in Somaliland. And I really hope that that continues in the future. Because, as I said earlier on, we don't judge based on what your background is, if you're male or female, where you live, where you come from in Somaliland, indeed where you come from in the world. The point is, have you got what it takes to be a future leader? but you're only going to get that chance if you apply. Okay. So I really encourage...
So you're pretty much like a bird. So if you don't have the wing, you can't fly.
So if you don't apply, you're not going to fly.
That's just it. All right, let's pick yet another question this time around. When you were giving answers to the issues about gender, you talked about what really matters. The gender, the place, where you come from doesn't really matter. Now, regarding Somaliland, there are some minorities or less privileged environments, like those people that live in the rural environment. Does this scholarship, the program, cover those areas too?
No.
What's your plan on that?
No, of course. And so wherever you're coming from in Somaliland, you're entitled to apply to those scholarships. So, it doesn't matter if you're what region you're based in, whether you're from the urban area, from a rural area, whether you're from a prestigious family, or, these things just don't matter. It's about, have you got the personal characteristics and what it takes to be a future leader.
Okay. What other areas do you feel this program is actually affecting as far as this environment is concerned?
That's a really interesting question. And, scholars who have been to the UK and have come back to Somaliland are working in a whole range of areas. Some are senior civil servants working in Somaliland ministries, shaping policies that are being developed. We have others who are now leaders within the NGO community, driving forward progressive ideas in civil society. We have others who have come back as practitioners in areas of health, for example, or delivering significant international development programs in various areas.
Oh, sometimes in the past, like let's say 6 years ago, I was with a friend and he got a scholarship, but he got to a point, this friend of mine started calling home, please, I need money for accommodation, I need money for feeding, there's a lot of hardship over there. It's like, the body has neglected them, or probably a lot of issues. What assurance do you give to people that aspire to apply for this scholarship that there won't be any problem?
So anyone who is interested in apply can go and look on the website for the full details of what is provided. But in short, in addition to the degree, the money funding the course, there's also provision for the travel to the UK, cost of visas, and then also a monthly allowance to cover those basic costs to make sure people don't get themselves in that situation.
What effect of pandemic on the program so far?
This has been an exceptional year, and the program was no different. So for some of the scholars who are studying in the UK this year, their programs were disrupted insofar as classrooms and courses were being delivered virtually instead of in person, which of course changes the experience. We in Hargeisa, the British office, like to keep in close contact with our scholars, and we held a couple of sessions with them during that time to see how they were doing and how they were responding. And they were all continuing to sort of enjoy the experience of learning, just in a different way. For the scholars who are going this year, who are flying out now, some of them are going to be entering virtual classrooms. And this is something we're contending with worldwide. Of course, we all hope that for the intake that will be looking to start their studies, this would be in 2021, 21-22 academic year, that this won't be with us. But, we'll have to remain adaptable and flexible, as we have in the past 6 months.
Thank you very much. What's your best experience here in Somaliland?
My best experience here in Somaliland? You put me on the spot now. Where do I start? You know what? One of the things I really love to do is just to get up in the morning with a cup of tea on the balcony, and we have the very fortunate I can look over to Nasa Hablot from where we are.
Yeah. Have you tried Somali tea before?
Somali tea? Yeah, Shah Somali.
With a combination of beer or something like that?
No. And actually, for my lunch today, I had Somali tea with camel milk. So it's one of the tastes I've developed here.
What's your message to people? Your final word to people?
Thanks. Look, If you think that you have what it takes, if you see yourself as a future leader, don't wait. It might be too late. Apply now for Chevening.
Well, so much to talk about, but for the want of time, we wouldn't just strain time unnecessarily. Thank you very much once again for obliging our invitation. Some other time in the future, we invite you again. That has been Stuart Brown, that man you've been longing to see, the man behind the masquerade. We're in Africa, so we've got to give that African proverb just to wrap up the program. He's the head of the British office in Hargeisa. Thank you for being a part of the program. This is CBAtv, Otka Barga Africa, the voice of East Africa and beyond. My name remains Ajara Ahmed Tijani. Stay safe and stay blessed.